story. Hi, Kari. How are you? Can you hear me?
Hi, good. How are you, Angela?
I'm good. Really good. Are you in your studio space there?
I am. Yes. So I'm camera. There we go. So yeah, I just started a little piece there,
Oh, lovely.
and there's my Fumi palette. Now that you have my ventilation system, I've got doors though. I've got doors to the outside, which are now
Right.
closed because it's actually getting really chilly here in the south of France.
Wow.
So there are a couple of my earlier pieces from this year. That's like the last of my Gilded series. I don't know if I'm
Right.
going to revisit it. I may not, but that's the last one. And then these are all my new pieces.
Oh, wow.
What a couple friends have started referring to as my COVID rabbits.
Your COVID rabbits. Yeah, you have a few of
COVID
those.
rabbits.
Yeah, you have a few of those in the online store I saw, so they look great. Oh,
Yeah,
they're wonderful.
all of these are in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them almost look a little bit curious to me. Like there's something about the energy or the feeling in some of what I see in
Right.
the pieces
Yeah, well,
are really
that
quite
one,
interesting.
thank you. Yeah, that one and that one, which one? That one. They're both called, they're Curiosity 1 and Curiosity 2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
So I got
yeah,
it right.
yeah, those definitely. And well, rabbits kind of have a curious sort of look to them, I feel sometimes. And, but this work sort of is a lot quieter than my previous work, less decorative and far more personal, I'm finding, although that was not necessarily the intention.
Right.
The work just sort of, I think, changed with our time.
Right.
You know, like the world got really quiet for a while back in March. Here, at least, immediately in March, everything shut down, and I was like, for the first time in my life, just like really anxious, and I couldn't really work. I didn't work. And I was doing work at the chateau, like I'm here helping the guys with their place as well. So I was doing a lot of that stuff. But this rabbit actually was the first one, that one in the series. And it came from just one day. I was like, okay, I need to paint what you know. I know rabbits.
Right.
So many bloody rabbits that. And I just thought, okay, I'm not dressing these net rabbits. Sometimes a rabbit is just a rabbit. And kind of, I think what the world was going through and what I personally have been going through this year, just sort of like, there have been so many changes. It's kind of crept into the work inadvertently. Right. It has not been, it was not necessarily intentional, but it's become far more personal than my previous work.
Yeah, because a lot of us might recognize your work as very like Elizabethan, like with like a lot of costume and the antlers, and like really, I think that's what I've seen from you in the last few years. So this actually, these rabbits really seemed a little bit different to me because they're sort of dressed, not like they're not really dressed, so it's simpler.
Yeah,
it's just a little bit like, is it a cleaner message? I don't like, it's just something very beautiful and simplistic about it that I just really love the feelings. Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
and even the palette's a little bit more muted, right? Because you don't have the color from the costume, or you don't have the gilding. I don't think any of these have that gilding in it.
No,
so
this
it's
was
just
the
quieter all around.
Yeah, that one was that and her mate were the last of the gilded ones, which I did pretty much very shortly after getting here, at the beginning of March. Yes, and then that little guy next to her was from January. When I first came here, he was one of 8 pieces that I did that I brought back to Toronto for the artist project, and he's the last one left. There are a couple others at I think there's one more actually at Blue Crow Gallery in Toronto. But yeah, definitely, like the palette had even started quieting with him, and the backgrounds changed. It was also a desire to, like, my work seems to change when I decide, like, I'm sticking with the subject matter, but I wanted to change it with the background. So I switched from the light gray to a deep dark gray to black to then the gold, a geometric gold, and then a foliate gold. And now I'm actually exploring more of what the medium can do with these backgrounds, you know.
Maybe you could show us a little picture of that again from the background.
Yeah, for sure. So, for example,
there's just more color in it. There's more
where there's more color, there's more movement. They're all loosely based on really moody skies. So you know, like some of the sunsets and sunrises that I see here. I started like I got here and I was just sort of I would just sit for hours and watch weather and try not to like just look outside and try not to feel guilty about not working. I'm like, no, this is research. Somewhere this is going to creep into my work, and it's, you know, gradually started. So like this one and her mate are loosely based on this amazing photograph that my soon-to-be 90-year-old father took of the moon rising over the Atlantic in Nova Scotia, where they live. You know.
Oh wow! Great, lovely.
Yeah, and this one is loosely based on one that my friend Ian took in Toronto of, and I'm just extrapolating from these photographs, you know, from these men in my life who photograph the sky. So I'm sort of using them for reference. And then these are,
I think we all do that. It's what you're exposed to, right? Whether it's outside, you're visually seeing it outside yourself, or it's through what you're seeing from other people. It's all referencing your work, right? So it's interesting that this all comes together. Well, it's everything we've always seen. Yeah, it's everything we've ever looked at. Everything that we've ever seen or heard or smelt comes into our work, you know? But I've really been enjoying that, like just playing with the backgrounds more. And my goal is to take it further, you know, and I'm also playing with light a little bit more, like with that one, you know, like that, like you can see where the light is coming from in that guy and in this one. And I've sold quite a few of these actually, so they're not even here, but and that's not something that I really paid attention to in the past. It was more about the decoration before. It was all about the costume. It was all about the fabrics and, you know, that sort of thing. So it's kind of nice sort of seeing things a little bit differently. Right. And is that coming out a little bit also? You mentioned it's sort of like a personal experience as well, but like we know that you've recently had, well, I say recently, but fairly recently, a big, huge move, right? Like, how is that? Is that partly why your work is impacted that way? I know that you're a little bit more isolated than you're hoping to be, even going out there, because I was hoping to come visit you.
I know. I was hoping for everybody to come visit me. I mean, it's really, I have to say it's been, I mean, it's not like we're in the middle of nowhere. Like we're a 5-minute drive in either direction to huge grocery stores. So, but it is quite isolated. And I'm here with my two friends now. The other one is back in Bermuda, but for almost 2 months, they weren't here. It was just me and the dogs. So, you know, definitely it's been impacted. My work has been impacted by the environs, for sure, by the environment. Where I am, it's night here. It's after 8 o'clock, so you can't really see, but everything here is green and gorgeous, and you know, definitely it's been influenced by that. I mean, I was looking for a change, but I didn't really know what that change would be. I'm going to be back in Toronto in January. I am coming back. It'll be there'll be a back and forth, but I miss my community. I miss you guys. I really do. This it's, you know, you realize it until you, not that I don't like people, but I never thought that I was that much of a people person until I spent a lot of time alone. And I'm fun, but I'm not that much fun without other people, I've got to say.
And especially the arts community is such an interesting, warm community. I think that's one of the reasons I love doing these art shows. So for those who don't know, my background's more like just organizing and managing these art shows, right? And so part of the reason that I love doing that is because I got to connect with so many artists, and I just thought, this is just such a great community. Like artists, they're just like, they're thinkers and they create, and it's just so lovely to wander around and be part of that and like, you know, envelop yourself in it. And when you don't have it, like, you really miss it.
And everybody is so so supportive of one another.
Yeah.
You know, like I tell the story about last year when I did a show in Niagara and my tent collapsed. And I, like, all of a sudden there was this army of people in my row who just took it down, got rid of the carcass, and immediately helped me put up my new tent. You know, it was like, where did these people come from? It was amazing, you know. It was really, it was really great. Like, everybody's so supportive. And I mean, I'm still in touch with everyone, and you know, I'm constantly at the end of my phone like this with my hand out, right? Like, I'm always talking to people and FaceTiming and stuff. But it's, and I know that there's not a great deal of social interaction, even in Toronto, with people who are there. But I mean, you can still meet a friend in the park, or you know, like you guys had that. You did your tents outside Kate's studio.
Yeah, that's right. So we did a little pop up,
which was which
that's right.
Loved to have been a part of. Except that you couldn't
so
use
nice
my
to
walls.
see you there. Yeah, I did. Well, I'd have to do something else. That's okay. I'd rather see you. But yeah, it's definitely, I really noticed it when we did that, because it was kind of like a sneak peek of that little art community again, doing that little pop-up for ArtWalk in the Square. For those who don't know, we did a pop-up last week Saturday where different artists had work in their front yards or patios. And it was just lovely to connect with the environment and with the community, the art lovers that came by, but also just with each other, right? It was just really lovely. So yeah, missing that. But Kari, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your process, because I know I understand what you do, because I do encaustic work as well.
Yes.
But for some of our viewers, they might not, and maybe you can just explain a little bit about what, like how you approach your work. Yeah, sure.
Well, so basically, that's my palette. There's a lot more going on there than usual, just because of my backgrounds. I'm getting a lot of like some brighter colors in there, even though they don't look that bright once they're done, because I saw when you were talking to Corinne, what colors can you not live with? Raw umber. Like, I can't, you know, like so much raw umber goes into everything to knock it back. But yeah, I draw my image, and then I just start painting. I just start sort of putting paint on there, and you know, wax on, and it's kind of muddy, and then I use a heat gun, melt it, scrape back. I do a lot of putting on and taking off. I do a lot of scraping. I don't fuse. I fuse with a heat gun, but I don't, because I don't want to lose my image. So I'm not really, I'm not using a torch and totally blending everything. You know, I'm trying to keep things a bit sharp. So I do a cursory pass of my heat gun, but that's pretty much it. I use reference always. Like you see, I have my iPad there. So I use reference for the subject. I have a reference file of background references, photographs, which of the sky and stuff, which again, they just like I extrapolate from that. You know, I'm not overly literal with that. I'm a bit more literal with the subject. Yeah, and I work fairly quickly. I started doing which was a lot of fun.
Oh wow!
But
I think you just cut out there for a minute. I think you said you do some time-lapse videos. I'll have to take
a
look at those.
I've done some time-lapse videos of the process, and it kind of surprises me even when I look at them to see, because I work on one section at a time. So, you know, I do the background, and then I'll start with an eye, and then I do the ears, and then I go together. I bring them together, but I break the painting down into multiple mini paintings, and then sort of unify at the end, as opposed to, say, an oil painter who may do an underpainting and then gradually build up everything. So it was interesting when I watched the time lapse to see how the painting progressed, because when you're in it, it's way more of it's not a cerebral thing for me. It's far more of an intuitive process. I don't overly think about what I'm doing, you know. I'm sort of just like, I've got music in the background, and I just kind of poke away. And every now and again, I look at it and think it's a piece of crap. And then I try not to think about that. And, you know, then all of a sudden I look at it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is working. And I'm not sure how I got from a piece of crap to this is working, but I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think your work's beautiful. I can't wait to see it in person again here. So right now in Toronto, where would we be able to see your work? You said there might be a piece at Blue Crow Gallery.
There are a couple pieces, 2 pieces at Blue Crow Gallery, and that's pretty much it. Otherwise, I've got all of this stuff on the ArtWalk Square virtual show, and my website. I post a ton on Instagram. Every time I finish something, it goes on Instagram, which has been a great vehicle for sales. I've actually sold, like, post something and then somebody has would contact me.
You? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have that much work at the end of February to put in galleries. The pieces I had were larger, and a lot of people don't necessarily want large encaustic pieces are a bit difficult because they're fragile. You know, the medium is fragile, and so I had those in storage, and they ended up selling on like Singular and Saatchi. So, you know, I had Ian ship them out, which was great. So that's kind of, you know, I don't really have anything anywhere in the city right now.
So what's next for you then? Like, are you, like, is that your normal typical size pieces that you're working on? Are you going to work large again, or
I want to do these really large. Like, I want to get back to, I would love to take this to, you know, the 4 foot by 6 foot, you know, like my giant pieces, and do this work on that scale. But I would do that when I'm back in Toronto and set up there.
Right.
You know, because
difficult to ship. These, you cannot get cradle panels here. It's not a European thing at all. So I'm painting on flat panels, on just 3 mil panels. I could cradle my own panels, but that's a whole skill set that I really don't want to learn. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like, I'd like day and night. Like,
there's better things for you to do. Yeah, day and night's great for that.
I can use my time far more wisely than also cutting off a digit with a jigsaw. You know, I don't even know if you use a jigsaw for that. That's tell you, I don't know. So, so when I'm back there, but I really would like to do these on a massive scale. Sort of, I love the idea, the juxtaposition of a small animal done way larger than life. You know, doing that. So. And I actually just, I heard before you brought me in that you were talking about the Leslie Grove Gallery, and I just booked, or I've just put a submission in to book that for 2 weeks in October for a solo show. So if they accept me, we'll see. Then I will
work towards that.
Because I really would like to do a solo of this work. I don't know if any fairs are happening. I've applied to the other art fair for April.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Are you going to do TAP? Did you apply to TAP?
I did not apply to TAP. It's still, the application's open until the 16th. I was going to give that show a rest this year because I've done it 6 years in a row.
Right.
And I thought, okay, you know what, maybe, maybe it's time to give it a break. So I did not resign. But then this work is completely new. But then I'm thinking I should just stick with my gut and let's give it a break this year.
Right.
But definitely, I'm excited about the other art fair going into Toronto. We'll see if it happens or not. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, if things clear up, I would love to. I mean, as much as, you know, we all complain about, oh my God, pitching the tents is so much work and lugging everything and all the rest of it. I actually would really like to be putting up a tent and being back in the park, you know.
It's great. Like, it's got good atmosphere. Like, it's one of the nicest ways, I think, to connect with artists and to see a lot of different artists, emerging artists, but also really established artists, like showing all over, and like to really, like, in a relaxed atmosphere, chat with them about their work, because most outdoor shows require the artist to be there. And so it's a really great opportunity to connect with people and just wander around, and even just connecting artists with other artists, like just like you know, it's kind of like getting your crew back and like just chatting with them during the day instead of being in your studio by yourself that day. Like it's a great atmosphere. It kind of you know, gives you energy again as you move forward. See what other people are working on.
Yeah, well, the first show I ever did was Riverdale ArtWalk, I think 10 years ago or something. And I always say to emerging artists, young artists starting out, like, it's such a great, it's a really safe environment to learn to talk about your work. Because if you want to get your work out there, you need to know how to talk about it. You have to get in front of people, and there's not a lot of pressure with that, you know, in a neighborhood environment and in the park like that. So, I mean, I was nervous as all hell when the first year I did it, you know, just to talk about my work. What do you mean, you know? And now, of course, you can't shut me down.
Well, I'm having a fun time chatting with you about your work. It's great talking to artists. Yeah, I think those shows, I'm really hoping that they'll be back next year. We're planning for it. I think artists are planning for it. I think they're eager to kind of get back out and get in the public, just like you say, like it's, you know, like that's one part that we're missing. So I look forward to seeing you back in Toronto.
Thank you. And, well, I look forward to seeing everybody. It's been, a year is a long time. Yeah. You know, it doesn't seem like it, but mind you, I've been gone for 8 months now, but you know, it's, it is a long time.
But even if you're going back and forth next year a little bit, you'll hopefully be able to do some of these shows, more of these shows in Toronto again, like, you know, you know, take the season, because that's not really the experience out there. Like they don't really do those pop-up sort of art shows, do they? It's more like all galleries, right?
Yeah. From my research, the art fairs are almost all gallery driven. Yeah. With the exception of the other art fair, which I applied to in London, and there was an art fair in Ireland that I was going to apply to, but they aren't moving forward with it, obviously. So otherwise, they are all gallery driven. And, you know, it's, which, you know, I mean, I could just start contacting galleries, but I kind of like to get out in front of people myself, you know. I like doing the art fairs. So well,
we'll see you here in 2021 through all the art fair season. That'll be great to see your work. All right, well, I'm going to log off now. I could talk to you for a long, long time about your work, but I just glad that we had this opportunity to connect with you. I don't know if
it was really great chatting with you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. And we'll chat soon, I hope. We'll see you,
for sure.
you around. All right. Thanks, Kari.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.